Most people who say they're tired aren't actually tired. They're overloaded. And there's a difference. Have you ever come home at the end of the day, sat down on your bed, and felt a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix? Your body isn't broken. You didn't run a marathon. You didn't lift anything heavy. And yet, you feel crushed. Why? Why does your chest feel tight when the room is quiet? Why does your mind keep replaying conversations that already ended? Why does a simple message from someone make your shoulders tense? You tell yourself you just need rest, but deep down, something whispers, this isn't just fatigue. Maybe you've said it before, I'm just tired. You say it at work, you say it to friends, you say it to yourself in the mirror. But what if that's not the truth? What if you're not tired, you're carrying too much? Carrying expectations that were never yours, carrying words someone said years ago, carrying guilt, carrying pressure, carrying silent disappointments no one else can see. And the heaviest things in life are the ones no one notices. You smile in meetings, you respond politely, you show up, you function, but inside it feels like you're dragging something invisible behind you, something heavy, something constant. Here's the quiet truth most people never realize. You're not exhausted from living. You're exhausted from carrying what you were never meant to hold. Let that sink in, because this story is not about laziness. It's not about weakness. It's not about motivation. It's about weight, invisible weight. And tonight, I want to tell you a story about a man who thought he was tired for years until he discovered he wasn't tired at all. He was carrying too much. And the moment he understood that, everything began to change. By the end of this story, something inside you will shift. You won't just feel understood, you'll feel lighter. Tell me, there once was a man named Daniel. If you met him, you would never think he was struggling. He had a steady job, he showed up on time, he smiled when people spoke to him. He looked fine. But every evening, when Daniel walked home through the narrow streets of the city, his steps felt heavier than they should. Not tired, heavy, as if something was pulling him downward. He told himself it was stress. He told himself everyone feels this way. But Daniel had a secret. Every time someone disappointed him, he kept it. Every time he failed, he replayed it. Every time someone doubted him, he stored it. He never argued much. He rarely complained. He just carried. And in his mind, he imagined something strange. A rope. At first, it was thin, almost invisible. But every hurt added another strand. Every regret twisted into it. Every I should have done better tightened it. Over the years, that rope grew thick. It wrapped around his shoulders, across his chest, around his waist. No one could see it, but Daniel felt it. When his boss criticized him, another knot formed. When a friend canceled plans, the rope tightened. When he compared himself to others online, it pulled harder. He never dropped anything. He tied it all onto himself, because he believed something dangerous. If I carry it, I'll become stronger. But strength was not what he felt. One night, Daniel stood in front of his bathroom mirror. The lights were dim. His eyes looked older than he remembered, and for a moment he whispered, "Why am I always so tired?" He went to bed early that night, but sleep didn't help. The rope was still there. In his dreams, he tried to run, but something held him back. He woke up with a tight chest and the same heavy breath he had carried for years. Days turned into weeks. The rope grew thicker. And one evening, as rain fell softly against the pavement, Daniel stopped walking. He couldn't take another step, not because his legs were weak, but because the weight had finally become unbearable. He leaned against a wall, closed his eyes, and for the first time, he admitted something he had never said out loud. "I don't think I'm tired. I think I'm drowning." That was his lowest point. Not a breakdown, not a dramatic collapse, just a quiet realization. He wasn't exhausted from life. He was exhausted from carrying everything life threw at him, and the rope around him had become too tight to ignore.
The rain didn't stop that night. Daniel stood there, back against the cold wall, breathing slowly, as if even the air felt heavy. That's when he noticed someone across the street, an older man, thin, simple clothes, holding a small paper bag of groceries. Nothing unusual, but there was something strange about him. He was walking in the same rain, on the same wet pavement, under the same gray sky, yet his steps were light. Not rushed, not burdened, just light. The old man passed Daniel, then paused. He looked at him for a moment, not with pity, not with curiosity, just calm attention. "You look like you're carrying something heavy," the old man said gently. Daniel almost laughed. "Don't we all?" he replied. The man tilted his head slightly. "Some do," he said. "Some don't." That answer lingered in the air. Daniel shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "I'm just tired," he muttered. The old man studied him for a second longer. Then he asked a question that felt almost too simple. "If you're tired, what are you carrying?" Daniel opened his mouth to respond. Work, expectations, mistakes, pressure. But instead, he said nothing, because suddenly the question didn't feel casual. It felt precise. The old man stepped closer, rain tapping softly against his coat. "Close your eyes," the old man said, "just for a moment." Daniel hesitated, but he did. "What do you feel?" the man asked. Daniel swallowed. "Tight," he said quietly, "like something's wrapped around me." The old man nodded slowly. "And who tied it there?" The question hit differently. Daniel's eyes opened. "I didn't choose this," he said defensively. "Life did." The old man's voice remained soft. "Life hands you rope," he said, "but you choose whether to wrap it around yourself." Silence. Rain. Breathing. Daniel felt something shift inside him, a quiet shock. The old man continued. "You're not tired," he said calmly. "You're carrying too much." The words landed deeper than any advice Daniel had ever heard. Not dramatic, not loud, just true. "You're not exhausted from living," he said. "You're exhausted from holding everything." Daniel felt his chest tighten again, but this time it wasn't pressure. It was recognition. "What if I let go?" Daniel asked softly. The old man smiled. "Then you would finally discover how light you were meant to feel." Daniel looked down at his hands. He could almost see the rope now, the knots, the tension, the years. And for the first time, he realized something terrifying. He had been the one pulling it tighter.
The rain began to slow. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just softer. Daniel stood there, feeling the rope around his body more clearly than ever before. The knots were not imaginary anymore. He could almost sense them pressing into his skin. Every regret, every unspoken resentment, every moment he replayed at 2 a.m., tied, tightened, secured by his own hands. The old man didn't touch him. He didn't untie anything. He simply said, "Show me one knot." Daniel closed his eyes. Immediately, one surfaced. A mistake from years ago. A moment he failed someone he loved. He had replayed it hundreds of times. The old man's voice was calm. "Are you still in that moment?" Daniel shook his head. "No." "Is the person still standing in front of you?" "No." "Then why are you still holding the rope?" The question pierced him. A second, many peak. Daniel inhaled slowly. For the first time, instead of defending the knot, he looked at it, really looked at it. It wasn't protecting him. It wasn't helping him grow. It was just tightening. And then something small happened. Not dramatic, not cinematic. He stopped pulling. That's all. He didn't rip the rope off. He didn't collapse. He didn't cry. He simply loosened his grip. And the moment he did, the rope slackened. Just a little, but enough. Enough for his shoulders to drop, enough for his breath to deepen, enough for him to realize he had been exhausting himself. The old man spoke again softly. "You're not tired. You're carrying too much." Daniel repeated it in his mind. "You're not tired. You're carrying too much." The words felt different now. They weren't comforting. They were awakening. Another knot appeared in his awareness, a criticism from his boss. He had held on to it for months. He had turned it into proof that he wasn't good enough. But now, standing in the quiet after the rain, he asked himself something new. Do I need to keep tightening this? The answer surprised him. No. Slowly, he imagined sliding the rope off his shoulder, not throwing it away, just placing it on the ground. The air felt cooler against his skin, lighter. The city sounds returned. The world didn't change, but his body did. His posture shifted, his breathing softened, and for the first time in years, he felt something he had forgotten. Space. The old man picked up his grocery bag. "Weight is optional," he said gently. Then he walked away. Daniel remained there a moment longer, feeling, testing, breathing without resistance. He wasn't free yet, but he understood something powerful. The rope had never been the world. It had been his grip.
Now let me speak to you directly. Because Daniel's rope is not just his story, it's yours. And maybe, like him, you've been calling it tired. But you're not tired. You're carrying too much. Tonight, I want to give you something simple. Not a life overhaul, not a complicated system, just one small shift. It will take less than 2 minutes, and you can do it right after this video. Here's what I want you to do. When the day ends, before you reach for your phone, before you fall asleep, sit still. Just sit. Close your eyes and imagine a rope around your shoulders. Don't rush. Feel it. Where is it tight? Around your chest, your neck, your stomach. Now ask yourself one quiet question. What did I tighten today? Maybe it was a comment. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was something you said that didn't come out right. Choose just one knot, not all of them, just one. Picture it clearly. See the moment. Feel the weight. And then ask yourself something powerful. Is this still happening? Most of the time, it isn't. Now imagine your hands gently loosening that knot. Not violently, not angrily, just releasing your grip. Let the rope fall a little. Feel your shoulders drop. Take one slow breath. And as you exhale, whisper this to yourself. I'm not tired. I'm carrying too much. Say it again. I'm not tired. I'm carrying too much. Because when you understand that, something changes. You stop blaming your energy. You stop judging your motivation. You stop thinking something is wrong with you. You realize you've just been holding too much for too long. And here's the truth that can change everything. You don't have to untie the whole rope tonight. You just have to stop tightening it. One knot, one breath, one release. That's enough. If you practice this daily, something subtle begins to happen. Your reactions soften, your sleep deepens, your thoughts slow down. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop gripping every moment. You're not tired. You're carrying too much. And you're allowed to put some of it down.
Most people will watch this, nod quietly, and then go back to tightening the rope tomorrow. Not because they want to, but because they don't notice when they're pulling. It happens in small moments, a look, a delay, a mistake, a memory, and the hands tighten again. That's why awareness matters. Because the rope doesn't weigh you down all at once. It tightens slowly, silently, until one day you wake up and say, "I'm exhausted." But now you know something different. You're not tired. You're carrying too much. And here's the part that changes everything. The world may hand you rope, but only you decide how tightly it wraps around you. That's the freedom no one talks about. Not control over people, not control over outcomes, control over your grip. There will still be criticism, there will still be disappointment, there will still be days that test you, but weight is optional. Read that again. Weight is optional. You can experience something without tying it to yourself. You can hear a word without turning it into a knot. You can fail without wrapping it around your identity. That is strength, quiet strength. And maybe tonight when you lie down, you won't say, "I'm so tired." Maybe you'll ask a better question. What am I still carrying? That question alone can change your life. So let me ask you something personal. What rope have you been tightening without realizing it? Is it someone's opinion? An old regret? A version of you that no longer exists? I want you to write it in the comments. Not for me, for yourself. Name it, because when you name the rope, you begin to loosen it. If this story felt like it was speaking directly to you, share it with someone who keeps saying they're tired. Maybe they don't need sleep. Maybe they need release. And if you want more stories like this, quiet reminders that shift something inside, subscribe and walk with me again. But before you leave, pause, take one breath, and remember this. You're not tired. You're carrying too much. Put it down.